Clamping up the hoses in readiness for the radiator to return. So we got one of those type clips, we got two of those type clips, and one of those type clips. Ooh. Another storming job from Adam. Adapted radiator. Ready? Alright, apparently we're recording. So yeah, this guy is back in place and all clipped in with those fancy clips. And then that comes around here. And the side of the cylinder block. And the side of the cylinder block. And into there. All clipped in again. Okay, so rehanging this radiator is quite a palaver, as you can imagine. So what I did first was hang it off this one. Focus. So that boy is just a rubber mount, no screws involved. Hang it off the right hand side of the frame. Then you're going to need to come round, well, then you're going to need to kind of line up that funny little bracket that I took out. And in there, deep in the valve, there, in the background there, that boy there is that funny little bracket. That bracket there, which again is just rubber mounted, so it's really difficult because it kind of keeps popping off the radiator fan itself. Yeah, so usual pain in the arse. So now it's just a question of encouraging this gentleman to team up with that gentleman. And we'll put some pipes on first, I think. And there's various other bits and pieces which need reconnecting as we go. All dutifully labelled, of course. Not. No, I haven't got totally crazy. I have been looking at having put back the radiator. And its protrusion and, to be honest, ugliness, because of course it was all kind of covered up and shrouded. And I've been looking at some of the other Agusta customs, and one of them seemed to have potentially this body panel fairing, so that's at 90 degrees is what it normally would be, as you can tell from the lettering, but it seemed to have those air slots. And actually, you know, if I cut it right, it could fit, maybe even higher. Let's try that. Well, possibly. Yeah. Could work. All of which experimentation is now able to be done thanks to Adam's welding of those lovely mounts. So we've buttoned up the radiator this side, plugged in the fans, put a little new blue tube on there. See what I mean? All this is just like dangling around. It's supposed to go over there. Yeah, so we cover it up somehow. But yeah, maybe that'll work. The other guy, I saw one of the other guys had actually used, instead of using the standard overflow bottle, he'd put one, mounted it down here, a cylindrical one, like I got on the Bel Air, aluminium. That looked kind of nice, actually, kind of funky. Not sure if I want to do that or not. More importantly, direct from the UK, the gasket has arrived, so I'm going to be fitting that today, and snugging it up, and then torquing it down tomorrow. All gooped up on there with the red, and all gooped up on here with the red. There it is, came out the right end this time. Again, this helps just keep the gasket in place while you're actually fitting it. as well as helping to seal it. I actually had plenty of rags at the ready because I thought it was going to be really messy, but actually it wasn't. So as I say, I've just kind of snugged it up there so that has time to dry and settle in a bit. Everything went in nicely actually. Good trick, that goot stuff, just to hold the gasket in place. So I'm going to leave that actually for a couple of days because I'm not around tomorrow. And impatient that I am to start the bike, I'm also impatient to start my Stratos project. And actually I really like my grungy MV badge. Very my own invention. Now we got that bottom grill to protect the oil rad, and then we got those Brutale clips on the radiator, which look kind of cool actually. I like that. Most importantly, they do a pretty good job of covering up that damage there. Pretty good job. Good enough, as we say in Lemons. I can see why people use, again, the older bikes and indeed the air-cooled bikes, because that whole front end of the block looked really pretty without the radiator. It's not so bad, but it's a lot of clobber. Anyway, the first thing to do is to get the smoke out of my face. Is to refill the water system, the cooling system itself, and see if there's any obvious bloody leaks without it being under pressure. And then we'll get a bit braver and we'll put the tank back on and we'll earth that ECU and start the motor up, or at least try and start the motor up. See what those exhausts sound like, eh? Exciting. One other precaution, obviously I've got to fill out with oil, having torqued down that gasket. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So yeah, one other precaution, just testing here that I've got a good earth for that ECU, because I don't want to be blowing that up at the last minute. And I know it's showing 14 volts as opposed to 12. But I figure that's okay because it's plugged into the wall at the moment, so it's probably getting a little bit of a boost. Just cleaning these up, the air intakes, just before we fire it up. It'd be rude not to. And there's some really random cleaning stuff that I bought years ago in the UK, so probably a decade old. Bloody good stuff though. Here we go, 2, 3, 4. Stage 1, filling it up with coolant. Beautiful fresh oil, poured thanks to my good friend Chuck. Found some LED lights which look like they may fit. I did check the measurements and everything. It's just a question of the shape. Interestingly, this one's almost perfect. But not quite. This one, however, is, and it's a lovely smoked glass, so it won't show up until I hit the brake pedal. And we're going to wire that up and then work out how we fit it. Everything is prepared for the initial restart. I'm not going to bother putting the airbox on, although obviously I'm going to uncover the air intakes. I'm going to put the fuel tank in place, but keep it protected. So here goes. Filled it up with coolant. Annoyingly, this seems it might be leaking. We'll see what happens under pressure. And more annoyingly, this seems to be leaking, and the gasket's a little bit out of place there. That would be really tedious if I have to get another gasket. But anyway, it's so minor. Not going to be a problem, and we'll see if it gets any worse once it's running. Clipped in the fuel lines to the tank. Just got to wire up the fuel pump, and then we'll be ready to go. There's an interesting idea for a custom bike. We could resin a t-shirt onto the tank. Yeah, ignition on. Just put that down at arm's way. Now I'm going to flick this, and hopefully we're going to hear the fuel pump kick in. Hopefully. Beautiful sound. Okay. Just going to check there's no fuel leaks, because we've had them before. Well, it does tend to piss out at an alarming rate, so I think we're good. Let's give it a go. Yeah, so that shows that that battery is in fact pretty much as dead as a dodo, so I don't think this is going to fire up. One more try. Bugger, how disappointing. And talking of leaks, that smells awfully like fuel. Not good. So this isn't the first time it's leaked actually, although somewhat ironically it's the newest part on the bike. I had a new fuel pump fitted because the old one died, and when it was fitted they put these quick release connectors, which are great honestly, but they put new ones on, and these are metal, not plastic as per factory. Supposed to be better, but it has leaked even prior to me doing all this with these connectors, and yet every time I took the tank off before, which was several times, as you know, because I resprayed it twice, with the old plastic connectors, it was fine. So this is kind of frustrating. I think what I'm going to do is, I think it was this one which was leaking. Yeah, there's still a bit of fuel in there. I think it was this one. It's got one of those crappy Jubilee clips, so I may put one of those special clips on it and see if that improves the situation. Yeah, I think that's the problem there. That actual hose clip has mangled the rubber there, so that's the issue. I got some spare fuel line because we had a bunch when we did the race car, when we put the fuel cell in as opposed to the standard tank. So I might even renew that. I've got enough to chop that bit off, honestly, even with this existing one. So yeah, that's the plan of action. Proper clip. Here's a fun one for you, just to dispel the myth. There is your petrol soaked rag. Here is a cigarette. Does not catch fire. Petrol requires a spark or a flame and vapor. There's plenty of vapor coming off here, I can tell you that. In fact, it's extinguished the cigarette. Just in case you don't believe me. Yeah. Probably should have done that outside. Although that smaller clip looks beautifully snug and the right size, the bigger clip is the one I'm going to use, because you have to allow for the fact that it's going to come over those teeth, and that's going to bulge the pipe quite considerably. It's actually an incredibly tight fit, and it's really hard to get it on. So it just shows that it was that clip that was a problem, because I'm quite sure that wouldn't leak even without a clip. Not going to try it. Not that stupid, says the man who's just set fire to a rag. So no exciting startup video this time round. It was tempting to get the MF battery, but in the end I decided to go for the other one. Lovely jubbly, perfect. And it's got a license plate light underneath it, which is nice. So I can put that in place, and there's the mount. Not pretty again, but by the time it all gets covered up, that'll be perfect. So because the backlight is mounted to the seat, and there's a good chance I want to take the seat off at some point to get batteries and things. I'm going to use conventional crimped connectors so that I can actually just disconnect the electrics rather than take the whole damn light off. So I think that's going to be the order of the day. Tidied this up a little bit with some of that shielding again, all the way down there and all the way into there. Give it a bit of extra protection from the heat too. Shaping up my new answer to the back of the seat. Two of the old favourites coming into play. Hammer and a baseball bat. Oh, big bit of doweling actually. Getting that curve. Looking good actually. And for once, no power tools involved, using these tin snips, which allow me to just shave off tiny little bits. Could do it on the wheel, but it tends to rough it up, honestly. So I managed to swap this clip back to the original one, because if you remember, this was leaking, and annoyingly, it's still leaking. Not sure what to do at this point, honestly, because it's the original clip, but actually it is right on the extremity of its tightening capability. So I guess I'll find another clip. We have a selection to choose from. Ended up remaking this piece as I thought I would. So it's beautifully in line, maximum length, snugged up in there in the new seat frame, and yeah, looking good. I might even not paint it. What I'd forgotten was that these mounts are actually threaded, so got the right bolts there, Allen bolts, and you know, this just drops down nicely. Don't need a nut on the inside, so literally a few turns of the bolt and it drops down the battery tray in the ECU. Sweet. Talking of batteries, look what turned up ahead of time. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly the same size as the other one, even though the dimensions made me think it might be ½ inch smaller, but it's not. Shame, but my newly created easy access bum flap. That takes me back. So I have a question with batteries, and they're such a pain in the ass to put on. Why do they not thread the terminals to match the screw that they provide? Why do you have to mess about with silly little square nuts that go in and wobble about and you have to line up? What the hell? Stuff like this really irritates me. It's the 21st century. Could we just get a nut that fitted even? It should not have to involve a Q-tip and a zip tie to hold the square nut in place, or any other random stuff you got kicking around the garage. Tedious. Meantime, the old dishwasher is a temporary spray booth, and actually I did put the seat in the dishwasher, in the new dishwasher, to clean it. So that's coming along nicely. And no, I didn't break the old dishwasher by washing motorcycle parts in there, although it has been known. I did wash a set of wheel trims in the UK in a dishwasher, which ironically came from Arizona, and they were full of grit and yeah, required a new dishwasher thereafter, shortly. Anyway, rant over on batteries, but if anyone does have any amazing techniques, not that you should need one, please do leave some advice in the comments. So yeah, new tray in place, beautiful, battery fits, ECU fits. Actually put the wire, the main harness, to the right hand side, I guess. And yeah, it's just loosely in place at the moment, but yeah, all fits and all snugs up nicely on the bolts. and the battery's good, and there's safe clearance on the positive terminal. Get a proper cap for that, just to be safe, and obviously all that will be tidied up. Job done. I know we haven't discussed tyres, and I'm not going to replace these yet because there's still plenty of wear, as you can see. Not a fan of these, honestly. The Bridgestones, they're kind of almost triangular. So the bike's kind of twitchy because you can't really see in the profile, but yeah, there's a flat spot for straight on. And then when you lean it over, it's most comfortable. But honestly, when you're going in a straight line, these things kind of want to lean one way or the other, and you're kind of fighting that. And in terms of just the bike being in balance, I don't like them. It's just a personal thing. I much prefer the Dunlops I got on the Triumph, which are just a smooth curve the whole way, and it just rolls whichever way you want it, and it doesn't try and fight you one way or the other. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, brake light. So if you've made it this far in the video, it would be rude not to give it a second chance, wouldn't it, eh? So we've got a new battery, got the fuel tank in again. Take 2. Fuel pump active. No leaks. Here we go. Well, it's pretty loud. Well, it's certainly not that sweet Agusta sound, but it does sound good. And of course, that's at like 3,000 revs. So crank that up by 4 times at 12,000 could be interesting. So apart from the fact that I forgot to kind of clear the air inlets of the t-shirt, which got sucked in, that went quite well. Sounded pretty good. And I'm going to try it again without the t-shirt in the way, hopefully. And on that note, I think we can end this episode. So thanks for watching and sticking it out. I hope it was worth it. It's pretty loud, wasn't it? Let's see what we have to do about that. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Please subscribe and encourage other people to come and watch my lunacy.